Jake Morrison stood in the grand reception hall and tried not to look nervous. The 28-year-old diplomat had been in tough situations before, but nothing quite like this. Around him, aliens from dozens of different worlds moved through the crowd. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated or crawled. Their skin came in every color he could imagine, and some colors he had never seen before. But Jake was not here to meet just any aliens. Today was the first time humans would officially meet the Valthyr Empire. The Valthyr controlled 40 star systems and had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Earth needed them as allies. Jake's boss, Ambassador Helen Carter, had spent weeks preparing for this meeting. She had made Jake study Valthyr customs every single day. The station they were on, Meridian Point, floated in neutral space between human and Valthyr territories. It was massive, big enough to hold thousands of people. The reception hall alone could fit a football stadium inside it. Lights from distant stars shone through the clear dome above them. A bell chimed softly. Everyone in the hall turned toward the main entrance. The Valthyr delegation was arriving. Jake had seen pictures of the Valthyr, but pictures did not do them justice. They were tall and elegant, moving with a grace that seemed almost like dancing. Their skin shimmered between shades of silver and blue as if made of liquid metal. They wore robes that flowed around them like water. At the front of the group walked a woman who had to be Princess Lyra. She was taller than Jake by at least 6 inches. Her silver hair floated around her head as if gravity did not quite affect it the same way. But what caught Jake's attention were her eyes. The princess's eyes were like nothing Jake had ever seen. They were large and seemed to contain entire galaxies. Colors swirled inside them, shifting and changing. Right now they showed deep blue with hints of purple. Jake found himself staring, unable to look away. Ambassador Carter stepped forward first. She bowed in the exact way Jake had seen her practice 100 times. She spoke the formal Valthyr greeting without a single mistake. The princess nodded and replied in a voice that sounded like music. Then it was Jake's turn. He walked forward, his heart beating fast. He bowed just like he had been taught. He started to say the formal greeting. Everything was going perfectly. Then Jake made his mistake. He looked into Princess Lyra's eyes again, saw those swirling colors that seemed to tell stories, and the words just came out. "Your eyes are gorgeous," Jake said. "I've never seen anything so beautiful." The hall went completely silent. Every single person stopped moving. Every conversation stopped. Even the soft background music seemed to fade away. Jake felt Ambassador Carter's glare like a physical weight. The other Valthyr in the princess's group moved closer to her. 3 of them put their hands on weapons that hung at their sides. Princess Lyra's eyes flashed through a dozen different colors in just a few seconds. White, then pink, then colors Jake could not even name. Jake realized he had done something very, very wrong. He opened his mouth to apologize, but no words came out. His mind raced, trying to remember if Ambassador Carter had warned him about something like this. Had she? He could not remember. All he could think was that he had just destroyed Earth's chance at an alliance with the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The seconds felt like hours. Everyone waited for Princess Lyra to react. Would she walk out? Would she demand that Jake be punished? Would this end the negotiations before they even started? Then something amazing happened. Princess Lyra laughed. It was not a human laugh. It sounded musical, like bells ringing in harmony. But there was no mistaking the joy in it. Her eyes settled into a warm golden color that seemed to glow softly. "In 300 cycles," the princess said in perfect English, "no one from any species has dared to say such a thing to me." She studied Jake with what might have been curiosity. "Your boldness is refreshing, human." The tension in the room changed, though it did not disappear completely. Jake saw other aliens whispering to each other. The Valthyr guards slowly moved their hands away from their weapons. But they kept watching Jake carefully. Ambassador Carter tried to move the conversation forward, probably trying to save what she could of the situation. But Princess Lyra held up one hand. Everyone went quiet again. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison," Princess Lyra said, looking directly at Jake. "I believe you and I should speak privately after these formalities end. There is much about your species I wish to understand." Jake managed to nod. He still was not sure if he had just saved the day or made everything worse. The reception continued, but Jake barely paid attention to it. He noticed that the princess kept looking in his direction. Her eyes showed different colors each time, and Jake wondered what they meant. The other Valthyr delegates seemed confused. They kept glancing at their princess with surprised expressions. Representatives from other alien species were talking among themselves, clearly interested in what had just happened. Later, after the formal reception ended, Jake stood alone on the observation deck. He looked out at the stars and tried to understand what had happened. He had broken some rule, that much was clear. But Princess Lyra had laughed instead of getting angry. What did that mean? He heard footsteps behind him. Ambassador Carter walked up, holding a small electronic tablet. "Do you have any idea what you did?" she asked. She did not sound angry, just confused. "Made a huge mistake?" Jake offered. "Maybe," Carter said. She looked at her tablet. "But I just got a message from the Valthyr delegation. Princess Lyra has requested that you be assigned as the main contact for all future talks between humans and Valthyr. She specifically asked for you by name." Jake stared at her. "What? Why?" Carter shook her head. "I have no idea. But whatever you did, Jake, it worked. Or it's about to blow up in all our faces. We'll find out which one soon enough." Jake turned back to look at the stars. Somewhere out there was the Valthyr homeworld. Somewhere on this station was a princess who wanted to talk to him privately. He had complimented her eyes, and somehow that had changed everything. He had no idea what would happen next. But he knew one thing for certain. His life was never going to be the same again. That one simple compliment, spoken without thinking, had opened a door to something new, something that could change the future for all of humanity. As Jake stood there, he thought about Princess Lyra's eyes and the colors that swirled within them. They really were gorgeous. And somehow, saying that simple truth out loud had started something neither humans nor Valthyr could have predicted. 2 days passed before Jake received the invitation to meet Princess Lyra privately. Those 2 days were filled with Ambassador Carter drilling him on every possible rule he might accidentally break. She made him watch videos about Valthyr culture. She made him read documents about proper behavior. She made him practice formal greetings until he could do them in his sleep. "Whatever you do," Carter told him on the morning of the meeting, "think before you speak. These people are very formal, very traditional. No more surprise compliments." Jake promised to be careful. Then 2 Valthyr guards came to escort him to the princess's ship. The Starweaver was unlike any ship Jake had ever seen. It seemed to be made of crystal that glowed from within. Walking through its corridors felt like walking through a dream. Everything was beautiful and elegant, but also slightly alien in ways Jake could not quite explain. The guards led him to a large room filled with soft light. Princess Lyra stood by a window that showed the stars outside. She wore simpler robes than at the reception, and when she turned to face him, she looked more relaxed. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison," she said, gesturing to a seat. "Please sit. We need to talk." Jake sat down carefully. The chair adjusted itself to his body in a way that was comfortable but strange. Only one Valthyr guard remained in the room, standing quietly in the corner. "You looked terrified at the reception," Lyra observed. Her eyes showed blue with hints of what might be amusement. "Yet you still spoke from your heart. Why?" Jake decided honesty was probably his best choice. "Where I come from, when you see something beautiful, you say so. Your eyes tell stories. They change colors. I had never seen anything like them. I did not mean to offend you." Princess Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Jake's stomach drop. "Among my people," she explained, "eyes are considered windows to the soul. They show our true feelings. We cannot hide what we feel when our eyes display it for all to see. Because of this, commenting on someone's eyes is very personal. It is something only family or bonded partners do." Jake felt his face grow hot. "So when I complimented your eyes in front of everyone, you essentially declared either romantic interest or deep friendship," Lyra finished. "In public. To a member of the royal family. Many in my delegation thought you were deliberately testing us or insulting me. But you laughed," Jake said. "Because I understood that you meant no harm," Lyra said. Her eyes shifted to a warmer gold color. "I have studied humans. I know you are more open with your feelings than most species. You say what you think. You share what you see. For you it was simply an honest observation." They talked for hours after that. Princess Lyra wanted to know everything about human culture. She asked about Earth's different countries and how they had learned to work together. She asked about human art and music. She seemed especially interested when Jake told her about human poetry. "You write entire works just to describe beauty?" she asked, clearly amazed. "Sure," Jake said. Poems about sunsets, about people we love, about anything that moves us. We believe in expressing what we feel. Is it not exhausting? Lyra asked. To be so open all the time? Sometimes, Jake admitted. But we think being open makes us stronger, not weaker. When we share what we feel, we build trust. In return, Lyra taught Jake about Valthyr culture. She explained how her people valued control and discipline. They believed in thinking carefully before speaking. They maintained strict social rules to keep order in their vast empire. It sounds lonely, Jake said without thinking. Then he quickly added, I'm sorry, I did not mean— No, Lyra interrupted. Her eyes flashed with silver, a color Jake had not seen before. You are right. It can be very lonely, especially for someone like me. As a princess, everyone watches what I do. Everyone judges my every word and action. I must always be perfect. Over the next few weeks, Jake and Lyra met regularly. Officially, they were working on the trade agreements between their governments. But their conversations always went beyond business. They talked about their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Jake learned to read the colors in Lyra's eyes. Deep blue meant she was being formal and careful. Amber meant she was curious and interested. Green flashes meant she found something funny. And silver, that rare silver color, meant wonder. Not everyone was happy about their growing friendship. Within the Valthyr delegation, a man named High Advisor Kelvor made his disapproval clear. He thought humans were too unpredictable to be trusted. He believed Jake was a bad influence on the princess. On the human side, some people worried too. Politicians back on Earth questioned whether getting close to such a powerful empire was wise. Military leaders wondered if the Valthyr had secret plans to control humanity. But Jake and Lyra ignored the doubters. They had discovered something rare, a genuine connection that crossed the gap between their species. One evening, Jake showed Lyra some human science fiction stories. She was amazed to learn that humans had been imagining alien civilizations for hundreds of years before actually meeting any. You dream so boldly, Lyra said, her eyes displaying that silver wonder. Most species fear the unknown. Humans seem to embrace it. We get scared too, Jake said. But we believe in hope. We believe things can get better. Even when we do not know what is out there, we want to find out. 3 months after their first meeting, there was a formal dinner with both delegations. High Advisor Kelvor made several comments questioning whether humans were ready for galactic politics. He suggested that humans were too young and inexperienced to understand complex interstellar relations. Before Ambassador Carter could respond, Princess Lyra spoke up. Her voice was calm but firm. Advisor Kelvor, I believe you underestimate our new friends. In my conversations with Lieutenant Commander Morrison, I have learned that humanity possesses something we Valthyr have perhaps forgotten. They have the courage to express what others only think. They have the strength to be vulnerable in pursuit of understanding. Her eyes swirled with vibrant colors that everyone in the room could see. She was publicly showing respect for Jake and for all of humanity. For a Valthyr princess to do this was almost unheard of. Jake caught Lyra's gaze across the table. He saw the colors in her eyes and understood that their relationship had become something more than simple diplomacy. They had become true friends, maybe even something deeper, though neither had said so out loud yet. But Jake also saw the anger in High Advisor Kelvor's eyes. He saw the concern on some of the other delegates' faces. Their friendship had created political tensions that were growing stronger every day. As the dinner ended and people began to leave, Jake had a strange feeling. Something was about to happen, something that would test everything he and Lyra had built together. He did not know what it would be, but he could sense it coming like a storm on the horizon. The explosion came without warning. One moment, Jake was walking through Meridian Point's busy promenade where humans and Valthyr were meeting and talking for the first time. The next moment, fire and smoke filled the air. People screamed. Alarms blared throughout the station. Jake's military training kicked in immediately. He ran toward the explosion, not away from it. Through the smoke, he saw Princess Lyra surrounded by her security guards. They had formed a protective circle around her. She looked shaken but unhurt. Security forces from both species rushed to the scene. People were hurt. Some were unconscious. Medical teams arrived and began helping the injured. Jake pushed through the chaos to reach Lyra. "Are you okay?" he asked urgently. Lyra nodded. Her eyes were cycling rapidly through colors that Jake recognized as fear and anger. I am unharmed. But my people. She looked at the injured Valthyr being carried away by medical teams. Jake was about to say something when he noticed one of the Valthyr guards acting strangely. The guard's position was wrong. His body language was all wrong. Jake had spent years learning to read people, and something about this guard screamed danger. Then Jake saw it. The guard was reaching for a hidden weapon. Jake did not think. He just moved. He threw himself at Princess Lyra, knocking her to the ground just as the guard fired. The energy blast that would have hit Lyra struck another guard instead. The injured guard fell, his armor smoking. Human security personnel tackled the assassin before he could fire again. They wrestled him to the ground and took his weapon. Other guards surrounded Princess Lyra and Jake, making sure there were no more threats. Jake helped Lyra stand up. His hands were shaking now that the danger had passed. He had just saved her life. If he had been 1 second slower, she would be dead. The next few hours were a blur of questions and medical examinations. The bomb had killed 3 people and injured dozens more. The assassin was identified as part of a radical group that opposed the human Valthyr alliance. They wanted the negotiations to fail. That evening, Jake was allowed to visit Princess Lyra in her quarters. She stood at a window looking out at space. Her eyes showed a gray color Jake had never seen before. It looked like grief. "You saved my life," she said quietly. "You did not hesitate. You did not think about your own safety. Why?" Jake walked over to stand beside her. "Because I care about you, Lyra. Not as a princess. Not as a political connection. But as a person. As my friend." Lyra turned to look at him. Her eyes shifted to softer colors. "My friend," she repeated. "Yes, you are my friend. Perhaps my only true friend." But their moment of peace did not last long. High Advisor Kelvor was using the attack to argue that the alliance was too dangerous. He said that working with humans was bringing violence to the Valthyr people. He demanded that Princess Lyra return home immediately. On Earth, politicians who had never wanted the alliance were making similar arguments. They said humans should stay away from galactic politics. They wanted to end the negotiations completely. Ambassador Carter called an emergency meeting with Jake. Her face was grim. "Both sides want to quit," she told him. "The only thing holding this together is the relationship you have built with Princess Lyra. We need to do something dramatic. Something that shows the alliance is worth fighting for." Jake thought for a moment. Then he had an idea. "What if Lyra and I investigate the attack together? If we can prove that extremists from both sides are working together to stop the alliance, it might change people's minds." Carter looked doubtful. "That is dangerous. You would both be targets." "Maybe," Jake agreed. "But it would show that humans and Valthyr can work together even in the worst situations. It would prove the alliance is real." Princess Lyra agreed to the plan immediately when Jake proposed it to her. Her eyes showed that determined violet color Jake had seen only once before. "For too long, my people have been ruled by fear and tradition," she said. "Perhaps it is time we learned from humanity's courage." They started investigating right away. Jake contacted his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Sophie Grant, who was very good with computers and data. Sophie found encrypted messages between known extremist groups. The messages were coded, but Sophie was able to break the code. What they discovered shocked them. The conspiracy was bigger than they thought. People from multiple species were involved, all of them with reasons to want the alliance to fail. Some were politicians who would lose power. Others were business people who would lose money. They had planned the assassination together. Working late into the night, Jake and Lyra followed the trail of evidence. They grew even closer during those long hours. Jake told Lyra about losing his parents when he was young. Lyra confided that she had always felt trapped by her royal duties. "I have never been allowed to choose my own path," Lyra said one night, "until I met you. You treat me like a person, not a title." One evening, they took a break on the observation deck. The station was quiet. They were alone with the stars. "I need to tell you something," Lyra said. Her eyes showed a pattern Jake had not seen before. Colors shifted rapidly between rose and gold. "Among my people, when eyes show this pattern, it means something specific." Jake's heart beat faster. He waited. "It means we have formed a deep bond with someone," Lyra continued. "When you complimented my eyes that first day, you saw me. The real me. Not my title, not my duty, just me. In that moment, something in me recognized something in you." Jake started to respond, but an alarm interrupted them. Ambassador Carter's voice came through their communicators urgently. "We have a situation. High Advisor Kelvor has taken control of the Veilther delegation ship. He is threatening to leave with it unless Princess Lyra boards immediately and ends all negotiations." Jake and Lyra looked at each other. This was it. The conspiracy ran all the way to Kelvor himself. He was making his move, trying to force the alliance to collapse. They ran toward the docking bay. Whatever happened next would decide everything. Not just their personal future, but the future of both their peoples. The alliance hung by a thread, and that thread was about to be tested like never before. As they ran, Jake glanced at Lyra. Her eyes blazed with determination. She was not going to let Kelvor win. Neither was he. Together they would face whatever came next. The docking bay was tense when Jake and Princess Lyra arrived. High Advisor Kelvor had sealed the ship and refused to let anyone aboard. Through the communication system, his voice was cold and hard. "Princess Lyra must board this ship immediately," Kelvor demanded. "The alliance negotiations are over. I am acting on orders from the Imperial Council. The princess must return home where she will be safe." Lyra's eyes flashed with anger. She activated the communication channel. "You have no authority to speak for the Council, Kelvor. I am the Emperor's representative here. I have not been recalled. The Council will support my actions once they learn the truth," Kelvor replied. "These humans cannot protect you." The assassination attempt proves it, Jake suddenly understood. He leaned close to Lyra and whispered, "He is too calm. If he really thought you were in danger, he would be emotional. But his eyes show that controlled blue you told me about. He is following a plan." Lyra's eyes widened. "You are right. Kelvor is part of the conspiracy. He helped plan the assassination. They needed proof." Jake quickly contacted Lieutenant Sophie Grant. Within minutes, Sophie found what they needed. There were encrypted messages between Kelvor's ship and the extremist groups. The messages showed that Kelvor had been coordinating with people who wanted the alliance to fail. Ambassador Carter made a bold decision. She broadcast the intercepted messages on an open channel, not just to the people at Meridian Point but to both Earth and the Veilther homeworld. Everyone could now see the evidence of Kelvor's betrayal. Inside Kelvor's ship, chaos erupted. Other Veilther delegates who had been following Kelvor began questioning him. They demanded answers, but Kelvor refused to respond. Jake made a quick decision. "I am going aboard that ship." "That is suicide," Ambassador Carter protested. "Kelvor will kill you." "Not if I go with him," Princess Lyra said. "Kelvor wants me aboard the ship. If Jake and I go together, it shows unity between our species, and it calls his bluff. If Kelvor truly wants to protect me, he cannot harm my chosen representative." Despite the protests from both delegations, Jake and Lyra approached the sealed ship. They requested permission to board. After a long silence, the airlock opened. They knew it was a trap. But it was the only way to end the standoff peacefully. Inside the ship, High Advisor Kelvor waited with armed guards. His eyes showed colors of desperation and anger now. The calm mask had slipped. "You should not have come, Princess," Kelvor said, "especially not with this human. His influence on you has become a problem for our empire." Lyra stood tall. Her eyes blazed with authority. "The only problem is your treason, Kelvor. You tried to kill me. You framed humans for it. Why? To keep your political power?" Kelvor's control finally broke. He revealed the truth. He was part of a group of powerful people from multiple species. They all feared humanity. Humans had advanced from one planet to a space civilization in just a few centuries. They were unpredictable, creative, and adaptable. If humans allied with the Veilther, it would change everything. "You think you are protecting order," Jake said, "but you are just protecting yourself. Yes, we are different. Yes, we are emotional, but that is why we innovate. That is why we never give up. The galaxy does not need things to stay the same forever." Bold words from a species that has achieved nothing compared to civilizations thousands of years older. Kelvor shot back. "Maybe that is exactly the point," Princess Lyra said. "We Veilther have focused so much on maintaining what we have that we stopped growing. Humanity reminds us what we used to be. Explorers, dreamers, risk-takers. That is not a threat, Kelvor. It is an opportunity." Before Kelvor could respond, incoming communications interrupted them. The Veilther Imperial Council had seen the evidence. They were ordering Kelvor's immediate arrest. Princess Lyra's father, the Emperor himself, joined the communication. The Emperor's holographic image appeared in the ship's command center. He was tall and imposing. His eyes showed complex patterns of wisdom. "My daughter," the Emperor said first, "I am relieved you are safe. You have handled this crisis with great wisdom." Then he turned to Jake. "Lieutenant Commander Morrison, my daughter speaks highly of you. She tells me you were the first to truly see her as a person, not just a princess. That is a rare gift." Jake managed to keep his voice steady. "Your Majesty, I only spoke the truth. Your daughter's eyes are gorgeous, not just because they are beautiful, but because they show her character, her intelligence, and her compassion." The Emperor's eyes shifted to show approval. "Indeed, it is that human quality, that ability to see truth and speak it freely that convinces me this alliance is right. High Advisor Kelvor, you are removed from your position. You will face justice for your crimes." Kelvor's guards, understanding they had been following a traitor, stood down. Station security took Kelvor into custody. The crisis was over. That evening, Jake and Lyra returned to their favorite spot on the observation deck. For the first time in days, they could breathe freely. "Your eyes are showing that rose and gold pattern again," Jake observed. Lyra smiled. She had learned the gesture from humans. "Because when I am with you, I can be myself, not a princess, not a diplomat, just Lyra. You gave me that gift from the first moment you spoke to me." "What happens now?" Jake asked. "The negotiations will continue, but what about us?" Lyra's eyes showed colors of hope and determination. "Now we prove that personal connections can be as strong as political treaties. We show both our peoples that our differences make us stronger, not weaker." Behind them, through the observation deck's windows, they could see delegates from both species working together. The crisis had brought everyone closer. People who had been suspicious of each other were now talking and cooperating. Jake took Lyra's hand. It was a human gesture, but she did not pull away. Her skin felt cool and smooth, different from human skin but not unpleasant. "I'm glad I said your eyes were gorgeous that day," Jake said. Even though it almost caused an incident, Lyra laughed, that musical sound Jake loved. "So am I. That one honest compliment changed everything. It changed me. It changed us. And maybe it will change the galaxy too." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. The alliance between their peoples was secure now. But more than that, they had found something neither had expected. A bond that crossed species and cultures. A friendship that had grown into something deeper. The future was uncertain. There would be more challenges ahead. Not everyone in the galaxy was happy about the human-Velther alliance. But Jake and Lyra would face those challenges together, just as they had faced everything else. And it had all started with 3 simple words and the courage to speak them. 6 months had passed since the day High Advisor Kelvor was arrested. Jake Morrison stood on the observation platform of Unity, the first joint human-Velther colony world, and marveled at what they had built together. The city below gleamed in the afternoon sun. Human and Velther architecture blended together in ways that should not have worked but somehow did. Buildings of glass and steel stood next to crystalline structures that seemed to grow from the ground. Gardens mixed earth plants with alien flowers that glowed softly at night. Jake was now Senior Diplomatic Liaison, a new position created just for him. He led a team of diplomats from both species, teaching them how to work together. Ambassador Carter had been promoted to Earth's chief representative to the Velther Empire, and she spent most of her time traveling between Earth and the Velther homeworld. Princess Lyra walked up beside him. She had also received new responsibilities. Her father had made her chief ambassador to emerging civilizations. It meant she could continue working with humanity while representing her people across the galaxy. "The children are playing together again," Lyra observed. Pointing to the plaza below, Jake looked down and smiled. Human children and young Velther were running around together, playing some game that seemed to have no rules but lots of laughter. A year ago, such a scene would have been impossible to imagine. "We did this," Jake said. "You and me. We made this possible." "Many people made this possible," Lyra corrected gently. "But yes, we helped start it. Not everything was perfect. There were still people on both sides who resisted the alliance. Some humans feared losing their independence. Some Velther worried about change coming too fast. Other alien species watched the partnership with concern, wondering what it meant for the balance of power in the galaxy. but Jake and Lyra dealt with each challenge as it came. They had become experts at explaining, defending, and building support for their vision of cooperation. More importantly, they had become partners in every sense of the word. That evening, after a long day of meetings and inspections, they returned to their familiar spot. Every space station and ship they visited seemed to have an observation deck, and they always found time to stand together and watch the stars. "I have been thinking," Lyra said. Her eyes showed colors that meant she was about to say something important. "About what comes next for us." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "What do you mean?" "Our professional partnership is strong," Lyra continued. "We have proven that humans and Velthir can work together. But there is another kind of partnership between us. One that goes beyond work and politics." Jake moved closer. "I have felt it too. From the very beginning when I said your eyes were gorgeous." Lyra's eyes shifted to that rose and gold pattern. "Among my people there is a ceremony called the Bond of Shared Vision. It is used when two beings truly see and understand each other completely. It is very rare. I have never heard of it being performed between different species." "Is that what you want?" Jake asked. "To be bonded with me?" "Yes," Lyra said simply. "Not because you are human or because of politics, but because you are Jake Morrison. You saw me when no one else did. You gave me freedom to be myself. You have supported me through everything. In every way that matters, we are already bonded." The ceremony would just acknowledge what exists. The ceremony took place on Unity 2 weeks later. It was attended by representatives from both species. Princess Lyra's father, the Emperor, traveled from the Velthir homeworld to witness it. Earth's president sent a recorded message of support. The ceremony blended Velthir tradition with human customs. Jake and Lyra stood facing each other while witnesses formed a circle around them. They spoke words acknowledging their understanding of each other and their choice to walk a shared path. When Jake spoke his part, he kept it simple and honest. "From the moment we met, I knew you were special. Your eyes told me stories. They showed me your strength, your curiosity, your kindness. I see you, Lyra, the real you, and I choose to keep seeing you for as long as you will have me." Lyra's eyes displayed every color as she responded. "You gave me a gift I did not know I needed. You showed me that being seen completely is strength, not weakness. You taught me that expressing feelings is courage, not foolishness. I see you, Jake Morrison, and in seeing you, I learned to see myself better. I choose this bond freely and happily." The bonding ceremony became news across the galaxy. Some species celebrated it as progress. Others viewed it with suspicion. But for Jake and Lyra, it was less about making a statement and more about acknowledging the truth of their relationship. In the months that followed, they continued their work strengthening the alliance. The Harmony Initiative expanded with more colony worlds being planned. Earth and the Velthir homeworld developed new technologies together. Cultural exchange programs flourished. Most importantly, Jake and Lyra inspired others. Young people from both species saw that differences did not have to be barriers. They saw that connections could form across vast cultural divides. They saw that courage and honesty could overcome tradition and fear. 1 year after their first meeting, Jake and Lyra stood on the observation deck of a new space station. This one was even larger than Meridian Point, designed to serve as permanent headquarters for an expanded alliance that now included several other species. "Do you ever think about that first day?" Jake asked. "When I nearly caused an incident by complimenting your eyes." Lyra laughed. "I think about it all the time. It was the moment my life changed. The moment I realized that the most important truths are sometimes the ones we are afraid to speak." "Your eyes are still gorgeous," Jake said with a smile. "Even more so now that I understand what they are telling me." Lyra's eyes shifted to that perfect rose and gold pattern. "And you still say things no one else would dare to say. That is what I love about humans. You speak your truth even when it is difficult, even when it might change everything." "It did change everything," Jake observed. He gestured at the station taking shape around them, at ships from multiple species docking together, at the future they had helped create. One compliment led to all of this. Not just the compliment, Lyra corrected. The courage to speak it. The willingness to see clearly and say what you saw. That is humanity's gift to the galaxy, and it is the gift you gave me. They stood together watching construction crews from different worlds working side by side. In the distance, they could see more ships arriving. New species coming to learn about the Alliance. New possibilities opening up. Years later, Historians would write about this moment as the beginning of a new era. They would analyze the political and economic factors that made the alliance possible, but they would always come back to one simple fact. It started with a human honestly complimenting an alien princess. It started with someone having the courage to see beauty and speak that truth out loud. For Jake and Lyra, the story was simpler. It was about finding someone who truly saw you, someone who appreciated not just how you looked, but who you were. It was about connection transcending every difference when two people had courage to be vulnerable with each other. And it all began with 3 simple words that changed 2 lives and eventually changed the galaxy. Your eyes are gorgeous.